咁多位
Members, let's resume the meeting. We'll continue with the discussion of the agenda items. Moving on to agenda item number 3, 87 TI, improvement works at Chun Ting Interchange. This paper proposes the upgrading of 87 TI to Category A at an estimated cost of $581.4 million in money-of-the-day prices. On the 16th of June 2023, the administration consulted the panel on transport on these proposed works. Members were generally supportive of submitting this funding proposal to the PWSC. The salient points of discussion were circulated to members on the 23rd of February 2024 by email. We have with us today Ms. Amy Wong, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Logistics, and Ms. Lam, Principal Assistant Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Mr. Jimmy Chan, Director of Highways, Mr. Patrick Ng, Project Manager Major Works from the Highways Department, and Mr. Poon Weng Hong, Chief Engineer, Traffic, Survey and Support, also from the Transport Department, TD. Members who'd like to speak, please press the button. Mr. Michael Tan, 4 minutes, question and answer included. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding Chun Ting Interchange, it's like a three-leg stool. Totaling $340 million, comprising $140 million, $100 million, and $100 million. I was well up in Chinwan, but I have recently not gone to Chinwan that frequently. These three legs are very important, so I support it. But for the one that costs $140 million, in May 2016, I was still a district councillor in Chinwan. The roundabout was recommended to be widened. That is a Texaco Road roundabout. The elevated road or the viaduct is sort of broken. Chinwan reclamation plan was shelved. Hence, there won't be a lot of population intake in Chinwan. The traffic volume is expected to decrease as a result on Texaco Road. Let's just leave the road there. There's no need to remove it. Consultants were engaged to study whether there would be more vehicles using this road. 7 years later, in the PWSC, they think that we need to carry on with this limb. That is $140 million. It won't be completed until 2027. That is a total of 11 years more. I find it quite strange. Now, they said that it would have to be built, and I'm not sure whether it is necessary. Do you have any figures? In 2016, when you estimate the number of vehicles in morning peak hours in 2024, it's 2024 right now. In the morning peak hours, how many vehicles are there in total? If your estimate in 2016 does not tally with the actual situation in 2024, that is when there are a lot more vehicles than expected in 2024. Well, definitely we need to build that road. But if the estimate in 2016 is in line with the actual situation in 2024, I don't quite understand. you said that it did not have to be continued in 2016, but then you need to continue with the project in 2024, then I'm at a loss. I don't understand why. I just find it strange. I'm curious. Director of Highways, Mr. Jimmy Chan. Thank you, Mr. Michael Tian, for sharing the history of this road section. As Mr. Michael Tian mentioned, it was actually one of the measures on Texaco Road. At present, we propose building a vehicle bridge connecting to Chengchun Road. There were some slip roads. Back then, the traffic assessments were such that the bridge need not be done. We actually conducted some traffic impact assessment back then regarding the road section on Texaco Road right before entering the roundabout. Our estimate back then was some 1,800 vehicles per hour that would enter the roundabout. Today, just on the traffic volume, by and large, the difference wasn't that great, probably more, just a little bit more. We need to take a look at the target or the goal of this project. That is, we want to reduce the number of vehicles entering the roundabout. When vehicles need to go to the destination, we don't want the vehicles to go through this roundabout, as it is a very busy one. The other measure is on Chunwan Road, turning left into Chengchun Road. We recommend adding one more slip road without having to go through the roundabout. Then they can directly turn left. For this slip road turning into the interchange, the capacity has already exceeded, the traffic capacity assessment has already exceeded the traffic capacity. We have a total of 5 measures. Mr. Michael Tan mentioned one. They are to reduce the number of vehicles using the roundabout. The slip road, as I mentioned, is too busy. We estimate the traffic volume will exceed the capacity. That is why we need to roll out the other 4 measures in order to reduce the number of vehicles using the roundabout. That is to improve the traffic volume at the roundabout. Mr. Michael Tan, do you want the administration to provide you with the justifications, changes, and so on? No, that's not necessary, but I'm just curious about the logic behind it. For these 3 limbs, 1 limb was said to be not necessary. However, today, it's still not necessary today, but the other 2 limbs are necessary. But then if you need to proceed with the other 2 limbs, it is a must for you to go, for you to take forward the remaining limb. Is that correct? Yes, indeed, we want to reduce the number of vehicles. The vehicle bridge can help us reduce the number of vehicles by half. Some of the vehicles do not need to go through the roundabout. They can go to Chengchun Road directly. They don't have to go through the roundabout, and we consider it an effective measure. That is, you need to do it anyway. $140 million is not a hefty amount, so you will want to proceed with it. Is that correct? Yes, we do think that it is cost effective. It will be quite a major enhancement.
Mr. Zhou Fi Chen. Thank you, Chairman. We did receive an invitation, and we went with Kwai Ching, the district councillors, for a visit. I saw this PPT, but it's not presented to the PWSC. Well, the contents are rich, and we can understand the project much better through this. It's good to understand more about the project. In the past, there were some accidents at TTI, changing interchange, and on some occasions there was a backflow because of the busy traffic. And the bridge there, vehicular bridge there, was not completed. It's an important interchange linking the north and south of NT. So this is a necessary project to apart from improving the traffic flow there. It's important for the development of the northern metropolis. In the briefing, I saw they used this PPT. The projection was up to 2041. So I asked whether they have considered the northern or factor in the northern metropolis. Why is it that we agree that this should be done, or is it because we need to tie in with the development of northern metropolis? It costs more than $500 million. There are 5 parts of the works. So people going to Ching East will not be required to use the interchange anymore. I hope using this PPT, you can move away this factory building so that we can have one more row. Well, you're going to improve the upstream traffic through the project, but there's still a bottleneck at the low stream part. And I'm talking about part 4 or D in the paper. You widen a section, but at the bottleneck, the traffic will still be kept to 2 lanes. If we cannot resolve the traffic congestion at the industrial building, I don't think we can do a thorough job in solving the problem. And also, I have a question about the contingencies. It's about 10% of the total. It's a reasonable proportion. Can we be explained that? Can we be given an explanation as to whether the 10% contingency will be expanded? Can some savings be achieved? Thank you. I ask the director to respond. There are 3 questions. First of all, we are all concerned about the Northern Metropolis project. We have just completed a study and a strategic study on roads and railway beyond 2030. And that covers Northern Metropolis and its demand on traffic infrastructure. The study looks at all the demand in Hong Kong on our road network. And now this project in question is on the improvement works at TTI. And it's part of the measures to improve the overall traffic infrastructure. At present, according to the paper, the traffic is up to a certain level. And if we project it up to 2041, well, the improvements will be able to cope with the foreseeable demand in traffic. And also, if we look at the paragraph 3b, for Texaco Road, we are going to have an additional 100 meters of length, a bridge of about 100 meters in length. We will have some roadside parking there. So an additional lane will also involve some change in the road management. Some part of the nearest length will be for roadside loading and unloading. And then for another section, there will be a no parking double yellow line marking. And then a planter will be converted into a lane. So there will be 2 lanes for traffic and another 2 for roadside operations. And for contingencies, for all the PWSC applications, we will always provide contingencies in the budget. Very often, there are unforeseeable emergencies and situations that we have to face, such as slope cutting or soil conditions that are not expected. We may need to do some geological investigations if need be. So the contingencies are proposed in order that we can cope with and deal with unforeseen conditions. The contingencies would be based on the risk involved. For example, unforeseen geological conditions. But if there are no such unforeseen situation, the budget will not be spent. The contingencies will not be expanded. That's a normal procedure for all projects. Dr. Lo Wai Kok, first of all, I strongly support the improvement works at Chim Ching interchange. Many motorists are familiar with this interchange, and I use this interchange regularly. The works will involve building slip roads so that some left-turning traffic will no longer be using the interchange, thus reducing the traffic burden. I have no particular view on the design, but I'm concerned that during the construction there may be traffic problems. I know that the Highways Department and the Transport Department would come up with some measures to allow people to get through. But since the works involve a lot of construction, so I hope you would not underestimate the difficulties. You would come up with some solutions, but I need to remind you that you have to take care of the problems. And also, interchange traffic is subject to certain rules. When I was a learner driver, it was an important part of my instruction. But now many motorists are in a hurry because there's a basic rule that you should allow the vehicles to exit first. if we follow this rule, then there will be no need for the dotted lines and solid lines to be painted. But motorists are always in a haste. So it's important that we should repeat the reminders to motorists, because when you are in a haste, when you're in a hurry, you would cause collisions. The collisions are not serious in themselves because the driving speed is low, but you have to make sure that the slip road for exiting vehicles is, you have to make sure that it's smooth traffic. Otherwise, the traffic will back up, and then the interchange will face congestions. Please pay attention to this particular phenomenon. First of all, I thank Dr. Low for his control. As for educating the motorists on how to make the best use of an interchange, I defer to my colleague from the Transport Department. As for the traffic congestion, we want to reduce the number of vehicles using the interchange by allowing them another slip road. Mr. Poon, we note the suggestions on educating the public on how to use the interchange. The police, the traffic advisory, traffic safety, the committee, and my department are concerned about this. We will look at the guidelines. For example, we'll come up with some pictorial pamphlets. We'll do this with the police on instructing motorists on how to make use of the interchange safely. Thank you, Dr. Low, for your support. This is an interchange used by many motorists. The temporary traffic management measures will be important to ensure smooth traffic. The contractor would implement the TTMs, will work out something with the Transport Department, and there will be a coordinating team to look at the TTM to be implemented. During the construction, there may be a reduction of lanes. The Transport Department and the police will work out the TTMs with the contractor. Since we are on the subject of proper use of the interchange, well, one of the works measure would ensure better safety in using the interchange. At present, before entering the interchange, at some of the locations, visual might be blocked or hindered. We would introduce some measures to ensure that the motorists are more visually aware of the traffic there. And some of the locations inside the interchange will be reduced in size so that the lane can be widened. And there will be more traffic markings to remind motorists that they're about to enter the interchange. This will make it safer for interchange users. Mr. Chan Siu-hong, TTI is in an important infrastructure for Tsuen Wan and Chun Ching area. This will reduce traffic and reduce traffic congestion. Since this is the PWSC, I would like to express my concern about the cost. It's 580 million or so. In June last year, at the transport panel, the Bureau submitted a paper. There's a reduction of 50% from the $1.1365 billion mentioned there. Can the Bureau explain the basis of the cost projection? Why is it that within a year the cost estimate has reduced by so much? Is it because of the difference between the projection and the tender prices that you have received? Please explain further so that the public understand what's happened. And instead of giving the traffic panel a very high cost estimate, you end up with a much lower budget. I don't know. I don't think this is intentional. But if we look at the price breakdown, A to G, can we have also an indication of the difference in the projection and the actual prices? For example, item B, $145.5 million for single lane vehicular bridge for the slip road. I understand during the briefing it was said that this is going to be technically difficult. Has the complexity been reduced after talking to the contractor? Can we have some of the breakdown figures for the original projection so that we can understand what was happened? Director, I thank the member. Yes, last year we briefed the transport panel with a cost projection which is higher. It was about $1.1 billion. The current cost estimate is the result of a tendering exercise. We got the quotations from contractors, from bidders, and now the estimate has been adjusted in light of the market quotations. That's a result of a competitive bidding process. The past projection was based on previous projects. One of the major adjustments was in respect of first item, the exclusive left turning traffic lane from Chuen Wan Road to Cheng Chun Road. This location is not very accessible, and the slope cutting may be required from the bottom of the slope all the way up slowly. So in terms of difficulties and the need for TTMs, we make bigger provisions for the works. But we have now secured the site area at the top of the slope, so that during the construction we will start from the top of the slope. The difficulties will be reduced significantly. We estimate that for this particular part, it was projected to be $500 million, and now it's just over $140 million. So that's a big decrease. That's one of the major reasons for the change.
駐工
We've also reviewed the number of laborers to be stationed at the site, and we have reduced the remuneration offered to them. As for the contingencies, that is reduced because the overall project cost has gone down. So that is why there is a significant cut in terms of capital cost of the project. These are the changes made since our briefing to the panel on transport. Chairman, can you ask them to provide us with the numbers that they have mentioned? I would like to make a comparison. Thank you. Next, Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, administration talked about the design of the interchange when they were answering the question launched by Mr. or Dr. Low. They said that they will expand the roundabout and the interchange. I often visit the interchange. I noticed that the trees actually obstruct the views of the motorists. We have to make a turn when we use the down ramp. Sometimes the trees obstruct our views when we want to enter the roundabout from the down ramp. So have you considered reprovisioning the greening area so that we can have an obstructed view of the roundabout? My second point, as the down ramp includes a turning point, can you widen the slowing down section of the road so that it's not limited to the slope? Thank you. Who will take the question? Mr. Chan, Director of Highways, please. Thank you. One of the 5 measures involve improving the design of the roundabout. There is a greening area in the middle of the roundabout, and we will shrink it and turn it into a traffic lane. And as a result, there will be less trees to obstruct motorist view. After widening the lanes in the roundabout, we can move the entry to the roundabout so that there will be a less obstructive view for the motorists. We will review the directional signs and markings of the road. If necessary, we will try to put in place more directional signs and signs in terms of speed to alert the motorist earlier before they enter the roundabout. Perhaps the Transport Department can supplement. Mr. Puen, please. Thank you. We will follow up on the slowing down signs. We understand that there are relevant signage, including the yellow belt that slows down the vehicles on the roads. Thank you. Thank you. I understand that there is a piece of vegetation in the middle of the round. Can we, for example, change the trees to straps so that we can have an unobstructed view of the roundabout? I think we can reconsider the species of the plants that we have at the roundabout. Thank you. Next, Ms. Jovi Chan, 3 minutes, second round. Thank you, Chairman. About the downward adjustment of the project cost, I think that is a good thing. I hope that the government can make good use of the contingency so that we can further adjust the cost downward. I think that this project is an exemplar case. The other department can learn from this project to save cost. I think that this is a very important thing. I would like to thank the administration for taking on board our views by improving the Texaco Road eastbound to facilitate the use of truck drivers and other road users of the road. I hope that the government can provide a written reply to us because we put in some questions. Mr. Pang, a district councillor, asked about some notices that have been gazetted about the car park at a road in Chinwan. I hope that you can have some written reply so that we can address the concern of the residents. Another district councillor, Mr. Hao, asked about the timetable of the construction and how you will cordon off some of the roads so that road users can be made aware of the construction schedule. I hope that you can supplement after the meeting. Thank you. Deputy Secretary, I received your other letter. We will reply to that. As for the construction schedule and the traffic and transport arrangement, perhaps the Transport Department can explain about that right now. Mr. Pun. I think that you're talking about the temporary traffic arrangements, TTA. I think that she's talking about some information and timetable. The Highways Department will arrange for temporary traffic in due course. I understand that they have conducted some detailed study during the construction period. The Highways Department will try to maintain the smooth operation of the roads and the lanes. Ms. Chen, I think that you're asking about further information on the schedule. Well, because there are 5 works involved, so I would like to know about the schedule of each of the projects because they will not be conducted in parallel, I believe. Perhaps I supplement in paragraph 27. It states that Highways Department will implement temporary traffic arrangements and set up a traffic management liaison group. Detailed traffic arrangements will be provided for, and there are different stakeholders in the liaison group. I hope that the department can engage members of my party in the liaison group. Mr. Ng? Mr. Patrick Ng. Thank you. We will set up a traffic management liaison group. I hear Ms. Chan's view. If they're interested in joining the group, we welcome that. If there are no other questions, I put this item to a vote. Will those in favor of the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2023-2433 raise their hands? Will those against please raise their hands? I think that the members who voted on the item are in favor of the item. I declare this item passed. About whether the Finance Committee should further discuss this item in accordance with Rule 41A of the PWSC procedures, I put the following question to a vote. This subcommittee recommends the Finance Committee further discussing the proposal set out in paper PWSC bracket 2023-2433. I remind members that if this question is passed, it means that the subcommittee recommends the Finance Committee further discussing this paper. If the question is negative, it means that the subcommittee does not recommend the Finance Committee further discussing this paper. Will those in favor of the question please raise their hands? None? Will those against please raise their hands? I think that the members who voted on the item are in favor or objects to the question. The question is negative. The subcommittee does not recommend the Finance Committee further discussing paper PWSC bracket 2023-2433. Thank you, government officials, for attending this meeting. Now we move on to agenda item number 4, 705TH, Trunk Road T4 in Shatin. Paper PWSC 2023-2434. This paper recommends upgrading the 705TH to Category A at an estimated cost of $7.1642 billion in money of the day prices. The administration consulted the panel on transport on the 20th of October 2023 about the proposed works project. Members supported the administration submitting the funding proposal to this subcommittee for consideration. The salient point of the discussion of the panel has been emailed to members on the 23rd of February 2024. With us today are Ms. Amy Wong, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Ms. Jillian Lam, Principal Assistant Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Mr. Michael Leung, Project Manager East from the CEDD, Mr. Horace Ng, Chief Engineer from the CEDD, and Mr. Wong Kwok Leung, Chief Traffic Engineer, New Territories East from the Transport Department. Members who would like to put questions, please press the button now. There are 7 members who have pressed the button to speak. I'll read out the order. They are Mr. Chan Siu-hong, Lau Kok-fan, Mrs. Jenna Ip, Mr. Michael Tian, Mr. Gary Zhang, Mr. Andrew Lam, and Dr. Lo Wai Kwok. Mr. Chan Siu-hong, 4 minutes, including question and answers. Thank you. I speak in support of the construction of Trunk Road T4 in Shatin to alleviate the traffic pressure in Shatin and the demand arising from the development of the northern metropolis. In the panel on transport meeting, I asked about the cost of the construction of the trunk road. Now it cost $7.1 billion. That is much higher than the $1.1 billion that was gazetted in 2016. Now some years have passed. I understand that cost would increase. I wonder if the cost is reasonable comparing to other works projects of the government. That is why I asked the government to set out in the paper submitted to the PWSC and FC the breakdown of the cost. Now the cost has not been reduced since the panel. I wonder if the government has adopted any measure to lower the cost. Or is it the case that there is no room for reduction of cost? Has the government explored the possibility of adopting technology or other construction techniques to lower the cost and compress the construction timetable of 6 years? From A to K of the breakdown, For underpass, it cost $2.1 billion, viaduct $1.6 billion. I asked if the cost of T4 is comparable to other works projects in Hong Kong. The government said that the Central Kowloon route costs similar, but I looked at the discussion paper of the Central Kowloon route of the PWSC. I saw that there was a breakdown in the capital cost, but when we are discussing the cost of T4, I don't see any details on construction in terms of, say, what challenges you faced and how you managed the cost. I hope that the government can let us know the reason why they cannot further reduce the price of the major works involved. If there are further details, please supplement after the meeting. Thank you. Deputy Secretary, Ms. Wong, please. Thank you. I would like to thank you for support of the project. Last October, we went to the panel on transport to brief members on the project. Because at that time, we have already had the tender returned. That is why the cost is the same as set out in the paper today. That is the price of the returned tender. I would like to invite or ask the colleague from the CEDD to take the other questions. Mr. Leung, please. Thank you. The member is correct. We proposed this project in 2006 and we estimated that the cost was $1.1 billion. But after we proposed or initiated the project, the residents had some comments about the design. That is why we have revised the alignment of the trunk road. Since 2006, the capital works project indicator has gone up. Originally, that was 69, now it's 157. That is the civil works construction index. The original alignment key was from Tung Lo Wan, San Chun, but then residents had some concern about that. So we realigned the route to go from 1.7 km to 22.3 km. After gazettal of the design, some residents had views about the viaduct that we are to construct spanning across the river. They ask if we can construct some slip road so that people can make use of T4 to go from Mount Shan to Sha Tin Town Center. We have actually included 2 extra slip roads that are of 400 meters long that further extend the length of the trunk road. Here, originally there was a Hilton Town Center and there was a viaduct that was near the cultural center or cultural museum or heritage museum. The viaduct used to be only 40 meter or 15 meter above ground. Now we have elevated it to 30 meters above ground. Otherwise, there will be further challenges to the construction. Because of the further elevation of the viaduct, the cost has increased. To minimize the impact to the Ardade night roosting site and the Chek Mill Road, here at Chek Mill Road, we will be constructing a 900-meter underpass. That is why the cost was further increased. Also, we have adopted some mitigation measures by reprovisioning some of the pedestrian footbridge. We will be reprovisioning 3 footbridges along with their lifts. At Pok Hong Road, as we have changed our design, the noise barriers will be increased from 200 meters to 400 meters. That is why the cost went from $1.1 billion to $7.1 billion. Well, this tender price that we received was competitive.
嗰個
Project Manager, can you supplement the information you've given us just now in a written format? That is to give us more information, more detailed information. We are willing to give you more information. Thank you. Well, Chairman, now in the PWSC, we do want to have more detailed information before the meeting. We've heard from the administration. I mean, we need to decide whether we will have to further discuss this item in the Finance Committee. Yes, administration, please pay more attention. If you can give us the information before the meeting, members will be in a better position to follow up on it. These are close to our heart, and we do want citizens to have more information about this. I believe members would like to know more details, as it is a comparison, so please, as early as possible, provide us with further information. When the Central Kowloon Route was discussed in 2017, at least we had some detailed information. We did have breakdowns. So, in the absence of this information, it would be difficult for us to support this project. Next, Mr. Lau Kwok Fan. Thank you, Chairman. I also support the project Trunk Road T4. It is indeed necessary. From 2005, 2006, all the way through 2024, close to 2 decades, it will be implemented. Finally, it not only solves the problem facing residents in Sha Tin, and it will also improve the situation in New Territories East. From NTE through Tolo Harbor, some traffic problems result from these minor points. The increase in the project cost is our concern as well. I do understand the explanation, that is the design, the time, all these contributed to an increase in the project cost. This is understandable, but I'd like to know from the administration, if we are to use a viaduct, do you have any information for us? Can we compare the project cost? In 2006, against, it didn't, well, I mean, it was decided it wouldn't be implemented. There were changes to the design, and then in 2021, likewise, there was opposition. The fact that it could be implemented, not because it wasn't objected to, but then it was considered necessary by the Executive Council, and that is exactly the reason why it could be proceeded. Well, I mean, it could be carried forward. There was backlash. You couldn't solve the problem, but because it is necessary, you have to do it anyway. On the last occasion, we worked on streamlining the relevant procedures for development. If you need to table it to the Executive Council, well, I mean, could you provide us with proposals A, B, and provide us with the cost of using the original proposal? But anyway, well, but In any event, those who are against it will be against it anyway. Are there better ways to deal with it? This is a good typical example, that is trunk road T4. Deputy Secretary, Ms. Amy Wong. Thank you, Chairman. We do want residents nearby to benefit from every single project. It's like a balance. If the project is necessary, it does have to be implemented. Even if we can address residents' demand, we still have to do it. I've heard from Mr. Lau. We'll think how we can enhance the procedures. We'll improve our future projects. Next, Mrs. Regina Ib. This project has been discussed from 2005 to 2024, close to 20 years. The cost increased from $1.1 billion to $7.1 billion. There's been backlash from the residents. So you can implement noise barriers. You can think how to mitigate the situation. If so, can you allay the concerns of the residents of the river park? CEDD, please. Thank you, member. I can use a foam board to explain the original design. Explain the differences between the original design and the existing design. While I can't see it, no problem, I can explain to you. The original design is to cross the Tumun River using a viaduct, and the standard is 27 mpd, that is about 8 floors, to cross the Tumun River. That will have a significant impact on the view from the river park and Chung Tai O. Basically, outside the river park, it will be implemented by way of an underpass. It's not really a tunnel, but it's similar. There are 2 sets of noise barriers to minimize the impact of noise to residents. In our design, we have already factored in the impact on visual as well as the noise impact. Well, when you can mitigate the impact on the river park, will it cause any impact to the nearby areas such as Mei-lam estate? Will it cause any impact on the public rental housing estates? Maybe you just don't want to offend the middle class. The impact on Mei-lam estate will be minimal, as it will be built on Shingmun River Channel. We will set up district liaison groups. We will invite stakeholders such as district councillors, district representatives, school representatives, resident groups. They will give us views on a regular basis on our construction proposal. If they have any views, they can as early as possible relay their views to us and we can allay their concerns. Mrs. Regina Ip, do you mean that you have, by and large, addressed all oppositions? I understand the administration has been working very hard, but it's been 2 decades. It's actually a staggering increase from $1.1 billion to $7.1 billion. I look forward to greater efficiency from the administration. When the work starts, we'll work hard on liaising with residents in the nearby areas. For example, for schools, if they have examination periods around the corner, we'll make adjustments to our construction works so that the Works that will emit greater noise will not be conducted in examination periods. This way, we can mitigate the impact on the residents in a nearby area. Can you give us some examples? What have you dealt with or what you are going to deal with? Take the river park as an example. We'll invite flat owners to join the district liaison groups. In the vicinity of housing estates, we'll set up monitoring points to monitor the impact of noise. We'll also be sharing the findings with residents nearby. The scheduled finish time is 12:30 today. In order to better manage time, if members would like to speak on this agenda item, please, as soon as possible, come to the conference room and press the request to speak button. Next, Mr. Michael Tian. Thank you, Chairman. Do you agree with the picture I have with me? It's a small one. In 2006, as you can see, the Apple costs, the Apple $1.1 billion. If you buy this Apple, it may cost $2.7 billion. That's exactly the same Apple, the very same Apple. The fact that there's an increase is due to the index. In 2026 and 2026, 157 divided by 269, actually you arrived at different index figures. We didn't see anything amiss here, but the Apple is 1.7 kilometers. This one 2.7 kilometers. That is a larger Apple. 60% greater to $4.1 billion. The problem is that from $4.1 billion to $7.1 billion, a jump from $3 billion. A jump of $3 billion. You're saying that the Apple is not in any way larger, but that it is sweeter. The old Apple was bitter, and no one would want to have that Apple. But right now the Apple is very sweet. Many people want it. It's drastically different. But it's just due to the viaduct and the underpass. I'd like to know the breakdown of the $3 billion. You have the viaduct, which is of course an elevated one. You didn't have the underpass, but then right now you have an underpass. Thus, the more expensive price. Can you tell us how you arrived at the figure of $3 billion? Is it because of the viaduct or because of other factors? I don't understand the increase of $3 billion. Can you give us more information? Thank you, Mr. Michael Tian, for your questions. Basically, our analysis is similar. From 2006 up till now, the construction cost has increased. The length also contributed to the increase in the construction cost. The viaduct added technical difficulty. The viaduct also contributed to the increase. In our original proposal, the viaduct went through is supposed to go through this road. However, right now it will be 30 meters above the ground and it has to cross two roads. The figure is $2.7 billion, including the viaduct and the underpass. I mentioned constructing more noise barriers in Pok Hong, and we will also have to add 3 footbridges with 3 elevators, each costing $500 million, totaling $2.7 billion. There are also contingencies, etc., but the breakdown is as such. That means the design was all viaducts, is that correct? Right now, some higher viaduct, some viaducts will be turned into underpasses, is that correct? But the percentage increase is similar. That is, to go above the ground and switch to underpass, the percentage increase is similar. Is that correct? Well, in our original proposal, the viaduct was not that high, but then we made it higher. Coupled with the factor of the underpass, these factors amount to $1.7 billion, and the road length totals 900 meters. That is for the underpass. I hope that the administration can give us more information before the meeting. Like Mrs. Regina Ip said, we can't see the picture you were holding just now. It's just too far. That would affect the efficiency of us going through your agenda items. So apart from providing us with more supplementary information, please pay more attention. Well, I haven't yet finished asking my questions. Should I press the button again? Yes? Please. Next, Mr. Gary Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. This project facilitates the vehicular flow from Ma'anshan to Shengmun River. This will divert the traffic flow in Sha Tin. The document provides information about the VC ratio. In these figures, I'd like to confirm whether you have already included the impact of Sha Tin section widening works of Tai Po Road. Chairman, regarding the traffic impact assessment figures, we have already taken into account the widening works of Tai Po Road Sha Tin section. We have also considered the development parameters concerned. Yes, you have already considered the widening works of Tai Po Road Sha Tin section. In the the infrastructure blueprint, there's been an assessment of the entire Hong Kong. After the establishment of the Sha Tin bypass, how will the VC ratio change? What will be the impact on Tai Po Road Sha Tin section? Another more macro perspective, when you are making projections, you are using the population projections from the CNSD. In 2046, the projection is that Hong Kong population will increase by 500,000, excluding foreign labor. It's mainly the local people that will affect the local traffic volume. The Northern Metropolis will house a total of 2.5 million people. That is a total of 1 million people of increase. The whole Hong Kong will see an increase of 500,000. Hong Kong Island, Kowloon Peninsula, New Territories, there will be a decrease in the population. I'd like to know, in projecting the VC ratio, have you already factored in these? Who will take the question? Let me first respond to this, after which I will invite Mr. Lang to add a little bit more. In December, we issued the Hong Kong Major Transport Infrastructure Blueprint. We have already factored in the population of 2.5 million in the Northern Metropolis, as well as their position or job distribution. Based on these parameters, we have already recommend the transport infrastructures. We have considered how the residents will move from the urban area to the northern metropolis, or in daytime they still need to travel between the urban area and the northern metropolis. We have already included this factor in the blueprint.
具體啲講啦，即係話
More specifically, you're saying that the PC ratio is 1.22, 1.17. Have you considered the impact brought by the trunk road and also the development of the northern metropolis? Well, the figures do not cover the Shatin bypass. We're going to spend more than $7 billion. I think there's a need to consider the population, the demographic changes, and the Shatin bypass that's coming on stream. Well, if you don't have those figures presented to us, then I don't think I can support this spending $7 billion at this PWSC meeting. I hope these figures will be made available to us before the Finance Committee meeting. They are important information. We'll see how we can respond to Mr. Zhang's question. Next, Mr. Andrew Lam. I'm speaking from memory. This trunk road T4 requires some ups and downs in elevation, and it's one of the most complicated road design that I've ever encountered. Even if you give me months and give me all the statistics and data, it would be very difficult for me to assess whether the construction cost is reasonable or not, or whether it would compare favorably with the tender you receive. Well, this is a textbook style teaching material. We have been working on this for more than 2 decades. During the hearings for this project, some residents insisted on their objection, and in the meantime, the costs escalated by 5 to 6 times. Well, it's a really good lesson for us, because retrofitting something after people are already there will be very difficult and costly. And also, the lack of political will to see through it will result in problems like these. Whether this is passed or not, or whether the cost can be reduced or not, according to Mr. Zhang, of course, and you need to prepare for the Shatin bypass. Well, this has been dangling for so long, and you still regard this as a simple public road project. I won't repeat other members' comment on the lack of explanatory data for this project. The controversy is going to last, but we need to look at it from the strategical point of view, whether this is needed or not, and whether this is discussed at the Finance Committee. You must convince members that this is a must. This is something we need to do. Deputy Secretary, thank you, Mr. Lam. Well, the fact that we have presented this application means that we are convinced that the project is needed, is necessary, with the increase in population in Mao Shan. We need to have a direct route taking people from Mao Shan across Shingmun Tunnel to Kowloon West. This project will reduce traffic time, traveling time, and at the same time alleviate congestion in Sha Tin, because the people coming out of Mao Shan will no need to access Shingmun Tunnel via Sha Tin. The details are all in the paper. And we'll do what the chairman has suggested. We'll provide a comparison document to compare the costs back in 2006 vis-a-vis what we are proposing now. I think members have said that in terms of provision of information, this application is not handled properly, resulting in doubts on the part of some members. I hope the government will pay attention to this problem. Dr. Lo Wai Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. Well, I'm very puzzled about this. I'm in two minds about this project. If we are talking about improvement to traffic and spend $7 billion, that's a very big sum. You have viaducts, underpass, etc. And you have to, as far as possible, avoid affecting the residential areas, the views of the residents. So you have gone to great length in coming up with this proposal, but $7 billion for traffic improvement is not a small sum. What's the Sha Tin population is about 1/10 of the total population in Hong Kong. For the past 20-odd years, the government has been found lacking in developing new towns instead of trying to squeeze more people into existing new towns. Well, the Sha Tin enjoys a good geography. There's the Shingmun Road with bridges built across the Shingmun River. Traffic would be good. When I was a member of the Sha Tin District Council, I thought Sha Tin was very good in this regard. And there's a railway entirely located in a district in Sha Tin. That's rare. And that is you have a complete railway line located in a district. So that's the usual complaint. You should not try to squeeze more people, more facilities inside a district. So I think it will be very difficult for members to give you some objective views today, because the road in question is not just for Sha Tin. There will be cross-district traveling. We have been trying hard to provide north-south traffic corridor for NT, and now we are starting to get something. So, what is the best option for this T4 trunk road? Basically, we are asking this question. Should we just approve it today, or should we get more information for further discussion, or should there be further discussion in the Finance Committee. And again, that this is a project which has been subject to delays, and there's some urgency. I just don't know what kind of answers we want. I think it all boils down to the problem with the overall town planning process. Thank you, Dr. Low, for your comments. We published the blueprint for traffic infrastructure for Hong Kong last year, and T4 is in that blueprint. We'd like to have a trunk road to alleviate traffic from Mont Shan to West Kowloon. So this is already factored in the blueprint. So all I want to say is that I hope members will give it their support. Mr. Tan Ka Pil. Well, NTE is suffering from traffic congestions, and we need to expand resources and money to make improvements. So I will always use the East Rail, because it's difficult for motorists to estimate the traveling time during peak hours, because it takes only one accident to cause a severe congestion. And I think we all want to see this road built. But the fiscal position of the government is rather tight, and the cost has risen. I know that it's a different design. There are 4 different levels. So the view of the FTU is that we are going to support this at the PWSC, but there will be a need to make a decision through a discussion of the full council. So I hope the departments, the bureau, will not hold a misguided view that this is going to be supported anyway. You should talk to the parties, you should talk to the construction sector on the details and on the need to implement it successfully. It has taken far too long. We have heard members' comments. We'll try to provide more elaborations to members through documents and through briefings to different parties. Well, yes, it's been in discussion for so many years. I think in principle, members would say it's okay, but you need to provide more information. We have one more member, Mr. Michael Tin, who would like to speak in the second round. In order that we can deal with this item properly today, I would like to propose an extension of meeting time by not more than 15 minutes. Mr. Michael Tin, 3 minutes. Thank you for giving a second round. My question is relevant to whether I'm going to give my support. In October last year at the transport panel, I already said this. The trunk road is going to be built at $7.1 billion, but in 2034, at the BC sections, Sha Tin and Tai Po, it's going to have a traffic ratio of 0.99. So it's already traveling at capacity. And in 2035, congestion will come back. Sha Tin reminds me of Tuen Mun. T4 is very much like the Tuen Mun bypass. Tuen Mun bypass has 11 steep roads. And there are 2 projects which is going to be constructed concurrently. There's a bypass and there's a so-called trunk road that will be good. The trunk road is Sha Tin Trunk Road and the bypass is in Tuen Mun. Last time I asked you, in 2034, this trunk road will be saturated with traffic. But what about Tuen Mun? I was given no answer. I don't think you can give me an answer today. I would like to tell you this. If you want me to support this item at the FC, you should at least tell us the timetable for the Sha Tin bypass. Well, I don't want to see an infrastructure that is only good for 10 years. Some people are concerned that what about how long we can use the bypass properly. It may be up to beyond 2047. So I don't need an answer. Unless you have an answer to offer, I mean a timetable for the Sha Tin bypass. In December, we published the blueprint for Hong Kong major traffic infrastructure development blueprint. We refer to the completion of Sha Tin bypass in 2039. That's the current timetable. Please come again. 2039 or beyond. So 2039 at the earliest. What about the latest? It can be beyond 2047? How come you cannot come up with a timetable so that we know what's happening? We're still preparing for the next stage of the project preparation, so we cannot be very specific about the completion timetable. Well, the bypass would allow us to be traffic congestion free for 11 years, and you don't know what will happen after that. Well, if that's the case, it's difficult. I'm not going to support it. Well, we have a number of other projects, including Tai Po Road widening project. This is going to be completed this year, and then we are going to have the T4. And in the longer run, we're also going to have the Sha Tin bypass. All these are for the improvement of Kowloon East traffic. Well, Sha Tin bypass is related to this one. Saturation point will come in 2034. And you are saying that you might have the trunk road completed in 2039. So completed in 2039, commissioned in 2039, or later than 2039? Can you tell the FC that it's 2039? If it's not specific, it would be way beyond 2039. Well, I can say it's 2039, or you can say it's 2042 if you want. I can't do that because a lot of preparation is required at this stage. I cannot really pinpoint any completion date. And then after 2034, the congestion will come back, and we'll have to wait until the next item comes up. Without T4, we know that without T4, congestion will come earlier in Sha Tin. I have no further question.
If there are no further questions, I will put this proposal to a vote. Would those in favor of the proposals set out in paper PWSC 2023-24-34, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think that the majority of the members who voted are in favor of the proposal. This proposal is passed. regarding whether the Finance Committee should further discuss this item in accordance with Rule 81A of the PWSC procedures, I put the following question to a vote. This subcommittee recommends the Finance Committee further discussing the proposal set out in paper PWSC bracket 2023-24-34. I remind members that if this question is passed, it means that the subcommittee recommends the Finance Committee further discussing this paper. If the question is negative, it means that the subcommittee does not recommend the Finance Committee further discussing this paper. Will those in favor of the question please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think that the majority of the members who voted are in favor of the question. This question is passed. The subcommittee recommends the Finance Committee further discussing paper PWSC bracket 2023-24-34. The funding proposal passed by the subcommittee today will be submitted to the Finance Committee for consideration in or after March 2024. The next meeting of the subcommittee will be held at 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on the 20th of March 2024. Please attend the meeting on time. That concludes our meeting. It is adjourned. Thank you very much.